Here's more wrestling news for December 23rd, 2022. And we're starting off today with WWE, who will be returning to their old stomping ground, Madison Square Garden, next week. As is tradition, WWE will host a Boxing Day live event from the Garden, but a change has been made to the show. Originally, the planned main event was a huge 8-man tag, pitting the Usos, Sami Zayn, and Solo Sikoa against Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Butch, and Sheamus. PW Insider now reports that the main event will be a more simple tag match, pitting the Usos against Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman. It's also been reported that Bray Wyatt will be appearing at the show, but it's doubtful that he will be competing. No explanation has been given as to why the main event has been changed, but either way, fans in New York will be in store for a huge event this coming Monday. This year has truly been one of the craziest years in wrestling, and no story was bigger than the retirement of Vince McMahon. In recent weeks, it's been reported that McMahon regrets retiring and believes the accusations against him would have died down if he stayed as WWE's CEO, and is plotting a comeback. So far, only Ric Flair has said that McMahon returning would be a good thing, and on the latest episode of Click This, Kevin Nash shared his 2 cents on a McMahon return. I mean, I know he has voting rights, but speaking personally from my life, I enjoyed the stock price going up. Like, leave it the alone. When he quit, the stock analysts said it would probably top somewhere around 100, so they still got some growth, you know? It's been reported that the idea of McMahon being in charge is exhausting people behind the scenes, as everyone has been much happier with him gone. Ultimately, McMahon's return will be a decision for the board of directors to make, but Kevin Nash would certainly be voting no if he were on the board. In April of this year, a memo went around backstage telling the women of NXT to dress sexier and gave Mandy Rose as an example. This controversial memo led to a discussion about just how far WWE's women's revolution has actually come, and one woman who sat through one of the Be Sexier meetings was Athena. Now in AEW, Athena is in her first reign as ROH Women's World Champion, but during the latest Talk Is Jericho, spoke about how WWE treated her and her body when she arrived. I remember getting this form that said, "Doesn't have the diva look, work on that." They had this whole pamphlet on what you did well, what you didn't do well, what you need to work on. Main critique was, doesn't have diva look. I remember just being told, I don't know if we should sign you or tell you to lose some more weight. I was like, I can lose the weight, just sign me. So I lose the weight, I'm like, yes, alright, we got this, we hit that number, but it was not in a healthy way because I wanted it so bad. Athena has said that she was ready to quit wrestling after her departure from WWE earlier this year, as she had felt so poorly treated by the company regarding her appearance. Of course, Athena didn't quit wrestling and has since debuted for AEW, where we imagine that nobody is demanding that she lose weight. Rose was given as an example during the memo and backstage meeting about how NXT women need to be sexier, but the former women's champion recently went too far. After WWE learned of the content posted on her website, the company felt they had no choice but to release her this month, but that's a decision nobody enjoyed making. Speaking on To Be the Man, Ric Flair spoke about how Shawn Michaels had to make the call to release Rose, which must have been difficult for HBK. Flair said that Michaels will have taken no pleasure in firing Rose, but said that Shawn has a job to do and that everybody answers to somebody. It's been said that WWE isn't ruling out a Rose return in the future, though given how much she's made online, it's hard to see why she'd come back. But for now, she's gone from WWE in a tough moment for the head of NXT, Shawn Michaels. When it comes to wrestling legends, few names are better known than Sting, whose legendary career earned him the nickname of the Icon. Before making his name in WCW, Sting had a brief run in the Universal Wrestling Federation and was beaten up for real during his time with the promotion. In her autobiography, Missy Hyatt writes that wrestler Dick Slater had been dating a female wrestler called Dark Journey, but after the two broke up, Journey spent more time with a young Sting. After Journey spent a weekend at Sting's apartment, a furious Slater confronted the young Stinger and attacked him in the bathroom when he was putting his face paint on. Hyatt writes that Slater beat the living crap out of the future legend, and Sting just let himself get beat up, realizing that fighting back would go down poorly with the veterans on the roster. Sting knew that Slater had friends who could ruin his career, and while the Icon would have had a career greater than almost anyone else, it was a fight that he didn't emerge from as the victor. For weeks, it's been reported that WWE will be heading to India next month for the company's first event in the subcontinent in years. The promotion's top stars were set to be at the show, including Roman Reigns, but that event won't be going ahead as planned. WrestleVotes were the first to report that the India event has been postponed to an undisclosed date and won't be happening on January 18th for unspecified reasons. WWE was planning on filling a 5,000-seat venue for the show, which is a small arena for what would have been a massively popular show. The company's focus, however, was not to make money with ticket sales, but the show's focus was going to be on its television viewership and help WWE out with future TV deals in India. Now that show won't be going ahead, and the massive WWE fanbase in the subcontinent will just have to keep waiting to see the promotion's brand of sports entertainment in person. If you follow Brian Myers on social media, you'll know that he's a huge fan of wrestling action figures, as is his old tag team partner, Matt Cardona. The former Raw Tag Team Champions even have their own major wrestling figure podcast where they talk about historic and current figures, but you wouldn't have heard this kind of talk early in their careers. During an episode of The Sessions, Myers spoke about how his and Cardona's love of figures brought them together, but said they didn't talk about it at all when they were starting in WWE. Myers' reasoning was that telling the likes of The Undertaker and Bob Holly that they like wrestling figures would have resulted in them being beaten to death by the two veterans, who have a more narrow view on what a real man is. The Phenom has previously spoken about wrestlers playing video games in the locker room, and has said it's wrong, as when he was starting out in wrestling, the real men backstage were carrying guns and knives instead. Of course, a real man likes what he likes and won't be pressured into not liking it, but given the dead man's veteran status and views on things, it was probably for the best that Myers didn't discuss his wrestling figure love until years after he started wrestling. For many wrestlers, having your very own action figure is a bona fide sign that you've made it as a star, and there's no shortage of merchandise fans can pick up. One name that's received little merchandise is infamous jobber Dwayne Gill, but according to him, that's all Goldberg's fault. In the late 1990s, Gill was reintroduced in the WWF as Gilberg, a parody of WCW's Star, and on the Cheap Heat Productions podcast, Gill accused Goldberg of squashing his merch sales. From the people I know, they say that Goldberg has a thumb on me. I can't have a doll, I can't have a shirt, I can't be on a video game, I can't do anything at all. It's difficult, if not impossible, for Gill to prove that Goldberg is stopping merch being made, and we have to wonder why the millionaire Goldberg would even care about Dwayne Gill merch in the first place. After suffering a heart attack in 2020, Gill retired from the ring, and while there may be some Gilbert merch out there, it's hard to come by, which is apparently Goldberg's fault. Now, Kris Statlander is one of the most popular names in AEW's women's division, but her time with the company has been plagued by injuries. Right now, AEW's resident alien is out of action and has been pulled from the AEW women's rankings, and fans shouldn't expect her back anytime soon. On Twitter, Statlander confirmed that she has not yet been cleared to wrestle and gave no indication as to when she'll be back in the ring. Statlander previously suffered an ACL injury in June 2020, which kept her out of action for 10 months, and we're continuing to wish her a speedy recovery from this latest setback. Another name fans haven't seen on AEW TV in some time is Maki Itoh, who proved to be a hit with fans upon her arrival last year. While she's been on Dark Elevation, Itoh has been missing from Dynamite and Rampage, and the Japanese star isn't quite sure why. Speaking through a translator to Steve Fall, Itoh said she doesn't know why she's not on TV and suggested that it's just down to AEW's booking. Itoh said that thanks to the AEW team, she's been able to get a visa for long-term appearances, so we know that it's not a visa issue keeping her off TV. The Japanese star also shared her two goals for 2023, which are to be back on AEW TV and to win a title belt in her native country. Itoh said she doesn't get a chance to talk to Tony Khan because of his busy schedule, so it remains to be seen what's in store for Maki Itoh in AEW. And we're ending with Jeff Hardy, who has been suspended from AEW since June after being charged with his third DUI in a decade. It's been months since Hardy's arrest after he was spotted by law enforcement swerving erratically, but the charismatic enigma is in no hurry for a result. According to PW Insider, the court has granted Hardy's motion to postpone his scheduled pre-trial hearing, which had been set to happen this week, and it will now be on January 18, 2023. If convicted, Hardy is looking at a possible 5 years in prison due to Florida law, and though Tony Khan is pleased that Jeff has entered rehab, the future remains very uncertain for the popular but problematic former world champion.